this computer. Okay. Okay, sorry. Thank you for the reminder. Okay, so let me just start again. I need to record this presentation. Okay. And we're still admitting a few people in. But okay, again, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good morning to you guys. It is indeed a pleasure for me to be hosting this webinar. And this webinar is titled Addiction and Recovery, a Change in Mindset. Now, first of all, I think it's very important for me to clarify, okay, I am neither a health professional or a recovery expert, okay. I am just, this is supposed to be a sharing coming from the average person on the street, all right, and these are my experiences when I started to deal and communicate and or what do you call it, interact with recovering addicts, using addicts. Okay, it came from personal experiences, and what I have found is that there is a lot of things that we still need to learn. There is still a lot of information that we need to process because it will help us, as individuals and also as part of society, to help people who are in having problems with addiction and how they can find their way to recovery. Okay, so again, it is important for me to inform you guys that I'm not trying to advocate or debate or say that one way is better than the other, or this is right or this is wrong. Okay, the takeaway from this will have to be from your side. Okay, but what I want to do is present the information, present the facts as they are. Okay, so please bear with me. All right, again, this is my first time hosting a webinar. There will be some, I hopefully, no technical challenges that I need to do. Okay, so just uh, remind me. Okay, you can unmute yourself and say if there is anything that you are not able to hear or share. Okay, okay, a bit of ground rules for this for this webinar. All right, it is a 1 hour session, but in the interest of time, because right after this webinar, I have a colleague who's going to be also hosting another webinar. So I would try to finish this by 10:50. Okay, so we don't have a lot of time, so I'm not going to be able to take any questions and answers at this point, but you can forward any of your queries to my email, and I will share this information at the end of this webinar again, right? So please feel free if there's anything that you would like to ask, that you would like to talk about, all right, and clarify, you can go and put the questions to my email. Okay, now, okay, the takeaway from this, again, like I said, I am not here to teach you. I am not here to expound my ideas and say that this is the only way that we can deal with this. But I would like to challenge the way that we look at addiction. All right. I want to challenge the way that we look at addicts. And I hope the information that I share here will open up our minds on how we can play a part in the prevention of addiction. Okay, that is important. The prevention first, right? What roles do we play as individuals and in society, in our families, and also examine our role as individuals and as part of society to help addicts who are already suffering in getting treatment and recovery. Okay, that is the takeaway, right? Again, like I said, there is no right or wrong. I'm just presenting it from my past experience, from the information that I have gathered, and I think this is something that is open to all of us. Okay, because if I was a health expert or a recovery expert, I will tend to tell you, how to do it. But in this instance, I'm just sharing with you, and I hope that you be a part, look at this with an open mind, all right, and see where you can benefit from this and you can benefit others. Okay. Okay. Now, first of all, I'm going to ask you to look at addiction. What comes to mind? All right. This is an activity that I would like everyone to participate. Okay. And we're going to do this on Mentimeter. So before I go there, all right, and I type to you the link. Okay. It is how it's going to do. If you go to your chat box, I will put in a link. You click on the link. All right. Go to the browser, answer the questions. What does addiction, what comes to mind? Just describe it in 3 words and then just click submit. okay? And you have 1 minute to do this. So I'm going to go to the chat function. I'm going to click the link here, okay? Enter. All right, so you guys can go and do the exercise, yeah? I'm going to pause share. I'm going to have a new share. Share, share. Okay. 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 What is addiction? Okay. Good. It's coming in. It's a sickness, health, homelessness, drugs, the big one. Exploring beauty products. Okay. So we have some beauty addicts here. That's good. Okay. Sickness. Okay. Remember, there is no right or wrong. Okay. I'm just trying to pick your brains. You know, what does addiction, when we say addiction, you know, what are the things that comes to mind? Homelessness, escapism, must have, sickness, craving, dependency, always wanted. Okay, exploring what can we say? Need, wanting, coping. Okay, dependency. Right, it's still coming in. Okay, so I think this serves a very important lesson here. Right, there are many ideas or thoughts that comes to mind when we say addiction, and to some, it may be uh, things that other people do not think about. Okay, but what is clear here on this screen that we see, drugs is the big thing. Okay, drugs. When you say addiction, a lot of people think about drugs. Okay, and this is a very important point that we need to bear in mind. Okay, so let me get back to my presentation. Okay. Okay, thank you very much for your participation. That's great, you know, and I think it serves as a very important interaction point. Okay, when I say drugs, a lot of you, I mean, the biggest word on the Mentimeter was drugs, you know, because that's what most people associate the word addiction with. Okay, so as you can see, the focus for today will be on substance abuse. Okay, it will be on drugs, alcohol, and we're going to see the interaction between what law enforcement policies that we have in place, our culture as a society, how that plays a part, and how that affects addicts and recovery. Okay, now let's begin with a video that I prepared for you guys. Enjoy.
Uh, there's no sound.
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Let me just again. There's no sound, eh?
No.
Okay, sorry for the technical glitch. All right, let me just check again. New share. Oh, I didn't share the sound. Okay, that happens. Sorry, guys. All right, I'm a newbie, not a noob, but I'm a newbie. Okay, so I'm gonna share again. Share, resume, resume share. Okay, I'm gonna start this
Permitting.
video again.
They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Humanity have mastered the environment, and with it, changed it like never before. The hustle and bustle of human activity is in every corner of the globe, permeating our every senses. But it has changed very rapidly. In the living memory of its citizens, something unprecedented has emerged: a pandemic. Quiet streets devoid of people and activities, a numbers game played out on a daily basis, new regulations, and the dreaded word, the new norm, invading the psyche of all its inhabitants, and with it, changing the way we live and look at our role as individuals and communities. In a way, it has made us forget that long before this pandemic, there is another danger lurking: a clear and present danger. It is faceless, addictive, destructive, and popularized in subculture and music of the disenchanted, invading the
Sorry about that. I
and
clicked on
with it,
something.
changing the way we live and look at our role as individuals and communities. In a way, it has made us forget that long before this pandemic, there is another danger lurking, a clear and present danger. It is faceless, addictive, destructive, and popularized in subculture and music of the disenchanted. It has no respect for boundaries, demographic, or social standing. It blends and adapts, and it exists in every corner of the globe. It invades communities and causes untold damage to human lives. It destroys families and communities and robs every ounce of humanity from its victims. It has now been pushed to the back of our conscious mind, sensationalized, brutalized, but not accorded the same attention and resources as the new pandemic. We pass by the victims with not so much of a thought, hushed up and treated as a passing annoyance as we try to get on with our lives. Substance abuse and the addicts are now relegated behind invisible barriers. They grow in the dark, left to their own devices, removed from society, living in a vicious cycle of self-harm and trying to survive. And most of all, forgotten behind a face that is desperate for help.
Okay. Thank you for bearing with me, and I'm sorry for that minor technical glitch. I clicked on something on the screen. Now, when I was trying to prepare for this webinar, there was something that was at the back of my head, and that was, how this pandemic, this COVID-19, has changed, our whole outlook about how we have, as communities, as individuals, we are told that, stay home, take care, you have a part to play, but everyone tends to forget that there is another pandemic that has been going on since, the start of human civilization, right? And it has just gotten worse, and it is still something that is ongoing. But again, because the focus is now on the new pandemic, okay, we have forgotten on the most part, about people who are suffering from substance abuse and addiction. So that was the message that I was trying to convey from the video. Okay, so we're going to break it down on this webinar. Let's look at a very simple definition of addiction. It says that addiction is a compulsive, chronic, physiological or psychological need for a habit-forming substance, behavior, or activity having harmful physical, psychological, or social effects. Now, if you were to find information, if you were to talk to the experts, there are various forms of definition. It is not a combination, it is a combination of a few elements. It is not just one straight thing, okay? But for this purpose, we are, the experts believe that a lot of it stems from early childhood experience, the difficulty for you to integrate, to bond, okay? So these are the major causes, and that causes you to find or substitute what you feel as a lack inside with something on the outside, okay? And this can be a habit forming substance, behavior, or activity, right? Now, as you guys have put out just now, in not so many, in so many words, but basically, it can be divided into, first of all, substance. All right, you've got the alcohol, the drugs, okay, you've got nicotine, cigarettes. We've got activities, internet addiction, gaming addiction. We've got gambling, right, and behavioral, right, sex addiction. Okay, and the picture down there is trying to indicate the addiction to power. Okay, now again, when we talk in the context of this webinar, we're talking about how the law, how culture, affects addiction and recovery. And it's very interesting to note that, you know, people who have a lust for power, right? People who have this addiction to power, right? And if you look at historical figures, you've got Genghis Khan, you've got Napoleon Bonaparte, you know, Alexander the Great. Okay, these are people who are, in a sense, addicted to power because they keep on expanding. And this is not just my opinion, you know, these are the opinion of people, the historians. Okay, but you see, culture glorifies them. You know, history glorifies them as conquerors, you know, as statesmen. Okay, so this is something that you need to bear in mind, that culture can also affect, you know, the way that we look at addiction and its problem. Okay, I'm going to start another video. Right, this is a video that we play and it has a very strong connection with addicts, you know, because when they view this, it gives you a little bit of sense of understanding of how this addiction works. And I want you to have a look at this video and share later on the chat box, you know, what you think this little bird is going to be doing. Okay. Sorry, there seems to be a bit of problem with connectivity. I hope it's okay. Okay, I think we're gonna have to stop this video a little bit because it's not playing very smoothly. Okay. Oh, okay, I'm so sorry. I need to stop this video, all right, because it's not very smooth and I don't want to take away from our time, okay, because we do have something to uh, talk about, okay. But anyway, addiction, again, this video was trying to demonstrate, you know, how the power of addiction, you know, how a habit forming or a substance, you know, can cause you to do harm to yourself, okay. Okay. Now, another activity that I would like you guys to do, all right, this is a question that you need to understand very clearly. Okay, if you were stuck on a desert island and you were given injections of heroin twice a day for the next 30 days, okay, what do you think will happen when you are rescued and come back home? Will you continue using heroin and be an addict? Okay, so what we're going to do is this is going to be an open sort of poll on the whiteboard, all right? So if you guys go to the top of your screen, you can click on annotate later when I share the whiteboard, and you can type or mark in which column you think is the answer on the whiteboard. Okay, so I'm going to pause share. I'm going to go to a new share, whiteboard, share. Just give me a second. I'm going to draw a line. Give me a second here. Just bear with me. I'm just preparing the whiteboard for you guys. Okay. Right. So if you guys can see, please go to the top of your screen, click on the annotate button, and please key in. You can put in anything, a mark, a sign, or whatever, you know, that says what would happen, you know, if you were injected with heroin for twice a day for 30 days, and then when you are rescued. will you become an addict? Okay, can everyone do that? Just put a mark, anything that can happen. Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm enabling annotation for others. Okay, try again, please. You guys don't mind? Okay, we've got one there. Yes. Okay, Pojo, Veronica, Mr. Lim, Adira, I think it's Alicia, Chung. Oh, wow. Okay. Right. So is there any other? Okay. I think it's overwhelmingly supporting the theory that yes, you will be an addict. Okay. So I'm going to give another few seconds. Is anyone else going to do this? Okay. So I think consciously everyone is marking where it's safe and says yes. That's right. It is a question after all. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to share. I'm going to go back to presentation. Share. Share. Okay. So the question that we were asked just now, if you were stuck on a desert island and you were given injection twice a day for the next 30 days, what do you think will happen when you are rescued and come back home? All right, will you continue using heroin and be an addict? Okay, and so the overwhelming answer that we received was yes. Okay, now this is going to be interesting. Okay, I'm going to share with you. This is called the rat park experiment. Okay, and you can go on YouTube, you can find more information about this. But the interesting thing is, okay, like we said, like I mentioned, psychological issues and environmental conditions play a significant role in the path to addiction. Okay, whereas bonding, community, healthy environment influence the choice of choosing addictive substances. What this means in this rat park experiment, okay, was that okay, there were two groups of rats. Okay, one group of rat was bred in a very cold, damp, isolated from each other. They gave it very what they call it drastic environment. Okay, the rats were put under very stressful conditions, and for those rats they were given two choices. Either drink from water, plain water, or water laced with morphine. Okay, now the other group of rat was given a rat park. They were given a lot of toys, a lot of activities. They were free to roam about. They were free to bond and create relationships. Do what rats do. Okay, and they were also given a choice, given a choice of normal water or morphine laced water. All right, and what happened was the rats who were kept under stressful conditions were always were almost always to choose the morphine laced water, and they would die of overdose. Okay, and in the other group where they had healthy environment and they were allowed to do the things that they did, it was almost always that they chose the plain water. They did not go for the morphine laced water. Okay, now how does that relate back to humans? Okay, and this was another social study that was done very extensively, and it was and again this I'm gleaning this information from the internet. It's not something that is uncommon. You can find this information and verify this. Okay, it's called the Vietnam War. Right, in the Vietnam War, most of the American soldiers in their packs, they were always given morphine for them, when they get shot, to inject the morphine for painkillers, right? And they found that a lot of these soldiers, because of the stressful condition in Vietnam, they continued using morphine even when they were not on patrol, when they were not in combat. And they were worried that when these people came back to America, they were going to have a massive addiction problem. But when the soldiers came back and signed and they did a study, they followed the soldiers back, those people had a problem, and it was interesting because the majority of them did not become addicts. Okay, so what this does is just it does tell us that you may be given under certain conditions. If you're given, you are forced to that for example, if you were going to the hospital and you are undergoing a very painful surgery, okay, and this is quite common in the States also, and you can also observe this in our social behavior. A lot of people will take drinks together. They will enjoy a few drinks, but not everyone becomes an alcoholic. Okay, and similarly, I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure, but maybe some of us have tried some um, uh, marijuana, in their lifetime. They're growing up. Even Bill Clinton does it, right? So what, like I said again, there's no right or wrong. I'm not advocating it. I'm not saying it's okay, but I'm just saying, that some people may have experienced, one form of illicit substance at their point in life, but not everyone becomes an addict. Okay, so again, the bonding, the community, the healthy environment plays a very, very important role in creating an addict. Okay, if you already have you have psychological issues, you have very poor environmental conditions, and then you have a disconnect with society, you have a problem within your family, you cannot connect with your friends, you don't have friends, all of this may and will contribute to how you choose your path in life. Okay, now this is where I'm coming at in this webinar. Okay, if you look at this, we have the three circles, which is the law, the culture, and the addict is in the middle, and the next circle is treatment and recovery. Okay, we're going to see how each of these, how the law component, the culture component, can affect someone's road to recovery. Okay. Before I continue, can everyone give me in the chat that they're okay? Say, please type in the chat and say yes. Yeah. Okay, good. Yes, 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 yes. All right. So everyone's still with me. Okay, bear with me. We still have quite a bit of information to share. All right, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to continue. Now let's look at the statistics. Okay. Now, if you look at the statistics or the figures that is available to us, okay. Now, again, these statistics are not definitive, okay? But and you must remember that in some countries where they have developed systems to keep records and such, these figures can come in. So what I'm trying to demonstrate here is for the record, the official records that we have from the United Nations, they say that 2% of the global population suffer from substance, which is alcohol or drug abuse, which is almost about 156 million people. Okay, and that comes back to the video that I was sharing about this being a pandemic. It is a pandemic. It's a worldwide thing. And you have to remember, where records are concerned, where statistics are concerned, how many more are those that falls between the cracks? How many more that the system is not picking up? So this is a real problem. And over 350,000 people die from alcohol and illicit drug use disorders each year. Okay, and again, if we were to take where the video was coming from, in this pandemic, the whole world has been mobilized. Governments, people, they're putting all their efforts, money, research, okay, into combating this, because the number of deaths worldwide is worrying. Okay, but hopefully with vaccination, hopefully with the actions that all of us take, that these deaths can be reduced, drastically, right? But for alcohol and illicit drug use disorders, these numbers are just constant, and in fact, they're growing each year. Okay, with the increase in population, with the increase in a lot of things related to the drug trade. Okay, this is a very serious problem, and only 1 out of 7 will have access and receive treatment. Okay, now let's go closer to home and try to understand this. Okay, how do we view drug addiction? Okay, and this is coming from our own records, and it was even an eye opener for me, because if you look at the numbers, 46,000 out of the 66,000 prisoners in jails in Malaysia are there because of drug offenses. Now, drug offenses can mean that they are caught, and most of this, again, from the information that is available, these are people not who are dealing in drugs extensively, right? They may deal in drugs to sustain the habit, but most of them are caught with possession, which means they use drugs and they were caught and they had drugs on them above a certain limit, and they were uh, processed through the system and put in jails. Okay. Now, the daily cost of maintaining these prisoners is about 30 ringgit to 41 ringgit per year, per day, right? So that gives a mind-boggling number of 500 million ringgit just to keep them in prisons a year. Okay. Now, what we're talking about, this 500 million a year, is just the cost of maintaining them in prisons, their food, okay, the wardens, and everything related to the prison system, right? What we are not seeing here is the cost of, the man-hour cost, the time that they had to go to court. They were brought to court, the time that the court system had to process them. So all of these are costs, right? These are hidden costs. These are costs that are not captured. So this is the cost of criminalization. All right, this is the cost of us treating drugs in a manner that that is, I mean, we criminalize them. We put them through the systems. And again, like I said, I'm not advocating for anything, but just presenting the facts. These are the facts. Okay, and if you look at on the 200 million that is spent on government rehabilitation programs, for you guys who are familiar, these are the rehabilitation centers which is under the government. All right, we spend about 200 million for them, right, as compared to 500 million on keeping them in jails. All right, that alone is something that we need to think about. All right, why are we spending more time in incarcerating them instead of treating them? Okay, now in 2019, the former health minister, Dr. Zulkifli, all right, he mentioned something, and this is important to point out, okay, because he said, that the ministry said the move to decriminalize drug possession or drug use is towards achieving a rational drug policy that puts science and public health before punishment and incarceration, calling addiction a complex, chronic, relapsing medical condition. Okay, an addict shall be
Yeah, you're muted.
something must have moved. Again, I'm sorry, guys. All right, these are all technical glitches. I'm still learning. Okay, so back to what I was saying. Okay, this is something that I'm not advocating for Bersatu. All right, I'm not saying that this is not a political speech. I'm not behind anyone, but I'm just saying that the system itself, okay, the bureaucracy itself, the powers that be, all right, have also admitted, at one point that, and this when ministers speak, they do not speak on their own. They must have referred to their officers, to the departments that are involved, and they have admitted that, we are not winning this so-called war on drugs, right? Our system is not perfect. It needs to be relooked. And one of it was to look at how to decriminalize drug possession, right? Not to say that selling drugs or importing in drugs or exporting drugs is going to be forgiven, okay? But just like I said, the majority of prisoners in prisons are people who are caught with possession of drugs. So instead of putting them in prison and incurring all the costs that we talked about, right, it's better for us to treat them, right? And an addict shall be treated as a patient, not a criminal whose disease we would like to cure. Okay. Now let me take you to your attention to the next thing I have. Okay. This is a talk that was given under in YouTube. If you were to Google, it's under "Everything We Know About Addiction Is Wrong." Okay, so please go and listen to the full text of it. Okay, but this is an experience that other people in other parts of the world are already seeing. Okay, so please.
I went out with a group of women who were made to wear T-shirts saying I was a drug addict and go out on chain gangs and dig graves while members of the public could jeer at them. And when those women get out of prison, they're going to have criminal records that mean they'll never work in the legal economy again. Now, that's a very extreme example, obviously, in the case of the chain gang, but actually almost everywhere in the world we treat addicts to some degree like that. We punish them, we shame them, we give them criminal records, we put barriers between them reconnecting. There was a doctor in Canada, Dr. Gabor Mate, an amazing man, who said to me, if you wanted to design a system that would make addiction worse, you would design that system. Now, there's a...
Okay.
I went out with...
Sorry. Okay. So, again, what on this slide, I'm going to talk to you about the Portugal experiment. Okay, now, let me just recap, okay? I showed you the three circles with the addict in the middle. All right, we've got the law, we've got culture, and then we've got treatment and recovery. Okay, now right now we're looking at the aspect of the law. Okay, and what I've shown you is that we are more the laws that we have in place right now criminalize drug addiction and drug use. Okay, we are very heavy on that, and that is reflected in a number of inmates that we have in prison. All right, it is reflected in the cost that we have to spend. And again, let me just remind you, all of this, when this happens, a lot of the law enforcement energy and manpower, man hours spent on doing these things which can be done better, right? Because again, the views are not just something that it's just the bureaucracy, it's just the policies. There needs to be a policy change, to make these things happen. And it has already happened. Like I said, the wheels are turning, all right, but where it's going, we do not know yet. Okay, now the Portugal experiment is frequently cited by a lot of people who deals with addicts and in recovery, because they have provided a live and successful experiment in this aspect. Okay, I will read to you the two statements that I have here. Most accounts of the Portugal experiment have focused on decriminalization, but decriminalization was part of a broader effort intended to encourage treatment. The country made financial investments in harm reduction and treatment services. Research in the United States shows $1 spent on treatment saves more than $1 in crime reduction. Okay, so in a nutshell, what Portugal did was, prior to the year 2000, they had a massive drug problem. All right, so they called the experts, they called the medical experts. So what they did was they came up with a policy and they said, we're going to decriminalize all forms of drugs. Okay, what they did, everything, heroin, morphine, ice, everything was decriminalized. That means you could use, if you had possession, they were not going to stop you. If they saw you on the street using, they were not going to arrest you. Now, this may sound a little bit extreme, but bear with me, okay? So, but what they did was, okay, the money that they saved on arresting, on all these other things that were put in place for the law enforcement groups, they were taken and they expanded their treatment facilities. They employed volunteers who went out and spoke to people on the streets and got them into treatment. And what they found is that they managed to reduce a lot of things. The number of people seeking treatment went up by 50%. The number of HIV rates went down. So again, this is not a perfect model, but it did open up the eyes of a lot of people about how important it is to have treatment versus criminalization. Right? There must be a balance. That's what I'm saying. Okay. So again, if you look at this now, when you are heavy on the law part and the law enforcement part, you are basically depriving or stopping the addict from getting recovery. Okay. Culture. Okay, this is another important thing that we need to understand. Culture. It relates to ideas, customs, and social behavior of a society. Okay. Now, I'm going to do another poll. Okay. Again, we're going to do an open poll on the whiteboard. But before I go there, let me explain. If the government were to conduct a poll and the question was to legalize marijuana for medical purposes, what would your answer be? Okay, on the top of your Zoom screen, click on annotate. So let me just pause share while I go to the whiteboard. Share. Okay, I'm going to give me a second. I'm just setting up the. Sorry, I am going to new share. All right, I'm going to go to the whiteboard. I'm going to share, and I'm going to resume share. Let me see how do I clear this whiteboard. Pause share for a while. Okay.
I think there's an eraser icon.
The icon. Okay, let me just see where's the eraser icon. I can't see it because this thing is blocking my view. Whiteboard. Yeah. How do I clear the screen for me? Sorry, I am really a bit stuck here, right? Or share, Zoom share. Okay. You guys can see that. I cannot see where I need to go. Can someone help me here? Would I go to the whiteboard?
Coming.
Okay, how do I clear this whiteboard? I can't see it because the thing is blocking my. Okay, yeah, now I see it. Sorry about that. Okay, clear all drawings. Okay, sorry guys. Again, this happens to newbies like me. All right, so again, I'm going to draw a line. Okay, just going to draw a line here. Okay, I'm going to put in the text. Yes. I'm going to put in another text here. No. No. Okay. To allow you guys. Okay, please put your answer. If the government was to conduct a poll and legalize marijuana, what would your answer be? Okay. Okay, don't worry. You know, I'm not going to say who's doing what. You know, other people can see. So you're free. Medical purposes, yes. Thank you, Mr. Lim. All right. Okay, right on. I vote for you. Okay, so I take that as a big yes. Okay. Anyone else? Just put in there. Say yes, no, a mark, whatever. You know, it's an open poll. Okay. I'm going to give yourself some time to look at this. All right. So maybe the rest are undecided. Okay, so it's all right. Okay, of course. Okay, so, all right. So I'm going to pause share. I'm going to go back to the presentation. Okay. Share and resume share. Okay. So why am I asking this question? Because we are on the topic now of culture. Okay. Now, if you were to look at this question, you know, it may be disturbing to some people because that's the way we have been built. Okay, but in the United States, as of today, you know, there are within the 50 states in the US, you know, 10 of them have legalized marijuana for recreational use. Another 23 have legalized it for medical use. And again, I'm not advocating, I'm not saying it's correct or right or wrong, all right, but I'm just saying as it is. It is a $56 billion industry in the US. It has created jobs, it has created new avenues for government to tax. So you see, culture can change. Now, I used to work for British American Tobacco, a cigarette company, and I remember in the late 90s, you know, that was the peak of the industry versus the health industry, right? The big tobacco companies were made to pay massive, massive amounts of money, which the health industry was claiming. You know, the governments were claiming that cigarettes was destroying lives and such. But now in 2021, marijuana is legal. Hey, what do you know? You know, so cultures can change, you know, for the greater good, you know, for what people perceive as, you know, a benefit for society. So cultures do change, right? Now again, I'm going to again ask you to go to the whiteboard. Okay, now I just want you to type in. All right, think of the differences that crosses your mind when you compare alcohol versus drugs. Now, okay, go to pause share, new share, whiteboard, share, Zoom share, clear all drawings. Okay, again, just type in there. All right, what do you think when you think about alcohol versus drugs? What comes to mind? Okay, please type in. You can click on text. All right, and type in your answer there. Yeah, I'm just interested to see what you guys think. Alcohol is legal, drugs is illegal. Okay, what else? Can everyone annotate? Yes. Okay. So what else? Can anyone else share with us? If you alcohol for social use is use not addicted is okay. All right. Okay. What else? Okay. If you have a problem annotating, you can also share with us on the chat box. Okay. Just go to the. There's no difference. Both can make one addicted. Alcohol addiction can be controlled. Now that's interesting. Alcohol addiction can be controlled. I guess that's what it says. Both. Uh, both are addictive. Okay. Both are addictive. All right. Okay. So, okay, just a few more seconds. Anyone else would like to add? All right. Okay. Thank you very much. All right. So I'm going to pause share. Marijuana is not addictive. Sorry. Sorry, it says here, marijuana is not addictive. Alcohol is socially, the laws are different for both. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. I just wanted to get some idea, what you guys think about alcohol versus marijuana. Okay, versus drug. Sorry. Okay, so now I'm going back to the presentation. Okay, guys. Now, as you have seen, okay, we are on the topic of culture. Okay, now again, I want you to recap and look at how the law itself is already heavy on the focus for today is about drugs, substance abuse, alcohol and drugs. Okay, but along the way we have seen that law, is very heavy on drug usage. Okay, so if you look at the table here, alcohol is socially acceptable, drugs are frowned upon, but both can be abused and both is a problem. Alcoholism is a very big problem in many parts of the world, and so is drugs. But even between these two compadres, these two what do you call it, menace to society, there is still a cultural difference, in how people perceive them. One is legal, one is illegal. All right, abusers are not arrested. You see a drunk on the street who was passed out, you might at the most just walk over him, but you're not going to call the police to arrest him if you see him there. But drug addicts are, okay, so they are visible, you can see them. But drug addicts, because of the law, because of the culture, because how people treat them, people go underground. They have an underground culture, and it's popular in movies. You see that office drunk, the one who's making a nuisance of himself, the jerk. So these people are treated with annoyance, all right, rather than outright what do you call it, arrest. Okay, so even our views on substance, the different substance makes a difference. Okay, so again, what happens now? All right, you've got the law, which is goes very heavy on drug addiction. All right, and then you have the culture again, which is not conducive for drug addicts to seek help. Now, I remember growing up, I had family members who were using drugs, and every time they walked into the room, there was this harsh silence. They were invisible. Everyone knew what was their problem, but no one knew where to turn to, because the options were limited. Whether went to the law and had him arrested, or you're going to have and sometimes you have this connection with them. They are not all bad people. They are just sick people. So sometimes this culture of not acknowledging, not being able to take action is also a big problem. It prevents the addict from voicing out. It prevents us as a society to extend a hand in helping them. Okay, so again, the circles have shifted. The law now we see is already heavy on drug addicts. The culture itself, is heavy and is preventing addicts from coming in. So this is the reality now. Okay, so now let's talk about the recovery approach. Now, when it comes to recovery, one size does not fit all. That's the reality. Okay, you may speak to many people from all walks of life. You can talk to people from the rehab centers. You can talk to psychiatrists. You can talk to doctors. You can talk to people who have said, "Hey, I've done it on my own." So one size does not fit all. But again, I'm sharing my experience from interacting with addicts, and this experience comes from helping them, being there for them, reaching out to them, talking to them, and these are the things that I see. These again are my views. I'm not expounding them, but this is what I see in general is happening. Okay. Now, first of all, you have to understand that recovery is a process, not an event. Okay. And culturally, also this plays a very important part, because a lot of times, okay, people forget this. Okay, especially on women addicts, unfortunately. Okay, when they come back from after they have gotten treatment, the family, their groups will tell them, look, they're trying to take them as far away as possible from people, the stigma that is attached. All right, but they forget that recovery is a process, it's not an event. Okay, so I have broken this into three main areas. One, which everyone agrees, is abstinence. All right, you have to have a period of abstinence where you stop using drugs totally. Okay, and then you have a period of adjustment. Now, adjustment period is when you have finished your withdrawals, you have stopped your mind is a little bit better to think clear. So there's that adjustment period, and then you have to maintain recovery. Maintain recovery means you must be, in an environment where it makes it possible for you to remain clean. Okay. So if you look at abstinence, okay, you have medically assisted. That means there are medication that can help you stop your drug of choice, right? You can go cold turkey, all right? And these are done, for example, in people who are put in rehabs or put in jail. Suddenly they're cut off, right? They have to, whether they like it or not, they're cut off from the source of drugs. They have to remain clean, okay? And then for the adjustment period, right? Again, I have rehabs and jails and hospitals there, all right? But some people on the outside who are not processed through the system, they either go through the medically assisted rehabs, they come out, they have recovery coach, they have psychiatrists, you have counselors, all right? And when you go forward to maintaining recovery, unfortunately, this is where rehabs and jails and hospitals do not help the addicts. Okay, so what happens is when they come out from rehab jails after the adjustment period, the percentage of recidivism or them committing the same crime again is very high, because there is no support for them outside to maintain their recovery. And if you notice, I've not mentioned the peer support groups or the 12-step programs, because this is an area that a lot of people are not giving enough consideration, right? Peer support groups can be a very helpful thing. So what happens is that sorry, just a background noise. Okay, so peer support groups are very important. Okay, and it can help right from the start, from someone being encouraged to have abstinence right through the adjustment period and going towards maintaining their recovery. Okay, all right. Now the next thing is that you need to understand is prevention is always better than cure. Okay, so how do you prevent? Okay, as we mentioned just now, addiction comes from a combination of factors, mostly childhood experiences, trauma, and as they grow up, environment, disconnect, and this and that. So if you look at prevention, it starts at home. Community starts from the family. Okay, the family can only be strong if you are strong yourself. Okay, so having healthy relationships, positive values, and the correct information is vital in preventing addiction. Okay, addiction forming habits. Okay, and if you already have people who are in the throes of addiction, people who are already being exposed or using drugs, all right, you have to understand that they need to have the proper intervention and support. You have to acknowledge, you have to help them. Okay, and in the end, you have to have the acceptance and the integration of them into the job market. Okay, acceptance and integration into the community. Okay, so if you look at all of this, all right, where I am right now is that advocacy. I'm trying to advocate, I'm trying to share information, I'm trying to pass on the relevant ideas, all right, so that people out there can go out and start thinking of yourself as having a role to play in this really big problem that we have in terms of addiction. Okay, so that brings me to my last slide, which is now, if you have a culture that helps to decriminalize, you have the law that is less hard on the addicts, right? You have a culture that is conducive for people to seek treatment, then the addict can have better access to treatment and recovery. Okay. So thank you. All right. I think I have exceeded my time by a little bit because of the glitches just now. If you do have any questions, please email to me at my email, kairihakma70@gmail.com, or you can contact the person who sent you the link to get in my email. Okay, so I'm going to stop share now, all right, and go back to the room. I just want to say thank you to all. All right, thank you so much. Thank you for your patience. I do apologize for all the glitches. This is my first time. It's very nerve-wracking and makes me very nervous, but I hope that all of you, all right, give me a thumbs up, put in the chat, tell me that this is something that you can do as an individual, as a person. Go out there, right? Extend your hand, be kind, have empathy, and help those people who are suffering. All right. All the best to you. God bless. Thank you very much again. Assalamualaikum.
Salam.